හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Monday, the 25th of March 2024. Legal reforms. Justice Minister confirms electoral reforms will not postpone 2024 elections.
මැතිවරණ කල්දැමීමක් මේ සංශෝධනය හරහා සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මම මේක ඉලක්ක කරන්නේ මේ එනම පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණට නෙවෙයි අත් වශයෙන් ඊළඟ මැතිවරණ වෙනකොට.
He further confirms that the penal code will be amended to include male cases of sexual harassment. Easter Sunday conspiracy. Former President Maithripala Sirisena provides a 5-hour statement after almost 5 years since the Easter Sunday attacks, claims knowledge of perpetrators responsible for the loss of more than 250 lives. Excise revenue. Excise revenue sees an increase from last year due to increase in alcohol prices. War on malnutrition. President Ranil Wickremesinghe expresses commitment towards eradicating malnutrition in the country, starting with 1.6 million school children nationwide. And tourism boost. Sri Lanka continues to tally exponential numbers in tourism with daily, weekly and monthly numbers spiking to above pre-COVID success rates.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9 with Ndivari Amuata and Mahish Jani. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to First at 9 this Monday. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Very good evening.
Good evening, Mahish. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to your Premier English News service on Ada Derana 24. We will be here throughout the week until Friday, bringing you the very latest from across Sri Lanka and around the world. We have some interesting developments from the political corner, especially with our former president, Maithripala Sirisena, making a comment to media about the Easter attacks.
That news broke out during the weekend as well. It took a turn. He made a statement. I don't think he actually thought that this would escalate it to the levels it has.
I'm not sure if that was the same statement made to the CID, although it was
so we don't know.
Shared with the media. We don't know. We don't know.
It's with the CID, but apparently the former president made that statement, and we'll bring that story to you. And also lots of other stories in terms of, because of this particular statement, the political arena seems to be getting heated up. Lots of comments made there as well, so we'll bring those stories to you as well.
Something to note is that Justice Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, which is coming up on our news headline story, mentioned that the penal code will be amended to include rape cases against men in our justice system, because so far it has been
such
only
a taboo
segregated
subject.
to women being raped, but also men will
it's
also
a positive
be
step. It's indeed a positive step, because but I think honestly there should be more conversation about this fact, because it is occurring in our country in high numbers, and a lot of data shows that apparently it is not being conversed about because of the simple fact that it's a taboo subject and people are very uncomfortable.
But education is key. Absolutely. Education from primary schools, so that everyone understands, kids understand what this is.
Was that Hillary Clinton who said that? Education.
I think everyone says it now.
Well, in terms of world, will Donald Trump post his bail money, $450 million?
Let's try to keep it hush.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, the deadline is today, so we'll bring that story to you later on as well. But let's begin our bulletin tonight. We begin with our headline story. Now, Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa says that the proposed electoral system reforms is to end corruption and provide equal opportunities for individuals contesting elections despite wealth or spending capacity disparities.
Now, joining a media briefing, the minister also said that the electoral system reforms proposes appointing a Senate comprising 35 members. The proposed amendments will, however, not be implemented in the upcoming elections, and as such, elections will not be postponed.
Now, the minister also said that in another proposed amendment, just like we told you a little while ago, Section 363 of the Penal Code will be amended to gender neutralize the victims to accommodate cases of male sexual harassment.
First, I have proposed an amendment to parliamentary elections. Parallel to that, we are also of the opinion that local government and provincial elections should be amended as well. A person must reserve the opportunity to become a member of parliament through the votes earned from a constituency. Canvassing an entire district, which we also did, is an extremely costly thing to do. Left up to that methodology, people who spend more on the campaign will accrue the most votes. We suggested that 160 members of parliament be directly voted in from their constituencies, with the remaining 65 members voted in according to a proportional voting system. We have not decided what the proportional voting system will be, and that is open to debate. We must divide it according to the percentage of votes gained by each party in the 9 districts. Secondly, we have proposed a Senate system where we have identified the need for a Senate board consisting of 35 members. Electing 3 members from each district means there will be 27, with the remaining 8 to be appointed by the President. This has been presented to Cabinet. There will be no postponement of elections due to these amendments. I'm aiming to implement this not in the upcoming elections but in the elections after that. We further proposed amendments to Section 363 of the Penal Code. First is that under the current law, when it comes to rape cases, harassment only applies to women and female children. A man or a male child has no room to be considered a victim. The amendment is to gender neutralize it and make it applicable for male victims as well. We will amend the provision that states women that was raped to person that was raped. Even in a marriage, if a husband forces intimacy on his spouse, if they are separated by a court order, it comes under the section governing rape. But a fundamental fact there is that they must be separated via a court order. After this amendment, even if there is no such court order, forceful intimacy by the husband will be considered rape. Following the amendments, if the consent of the woman was taken under the influence of alcohol or forcefully, those actions will also fall under rape. Legal repercussions will be increased if the rape occurred while the woman was under the custody of the police or a hospital. The debatable fact in this is under statutory rape, we have said that if there was the rape of a girl under 16 years of age, a definite 10 years in prison must be adjudicated. There, despite consent, the courts must indict a minimum of 10 years in prison. Here we have faced multiple practical issues. We have suggested that if there is a case of sexual intercourse involving a girl above 14 years of age and below 16 years of age, sentencing should be up to 10 years, keeping room for a judge to exercise discretion. The reason for that is that most of these cases involve males below 22 years of age. The main reason for that is love affairs that they engage in at that age.
Now, even in the current situation, if a girl at the age of like 16 has had sex with a person, and if that girl likes to get married with that person, she can't do that because of
marriageable age.
Yes. Do you see any need to introduce a proper legal amendment?
That is, of course, that the internationally recognized age of marriage is 18. The Muslim law also that there are proposed amendment. They also have agreed to make it 18 years for Islamic devotees. We will bring that amendment very soon.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations.
Following his recent controversial statement on his knowledge of the mastermind behind the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks, former President Maithripala Sirisena was summoned to the Criminal Investigations Department today.
Now, the former president who arrived at the CID this morning provided a 5-hour statement regarding information he allegedly received 3 weeks ago.
Now, in the statement, Acting Secretary General of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Dushmantha Mithapala, stated that the former president's statement will be of aid to determine onward legal action pertaining to the matter.
On the 22nd of March this year, former president and chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, who addressed the media during a visit to Kandy, revealed that he is aware of the mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attacks which occurred on the 21st of April 2019, claiming the lives of 269 people.
Later,
the Easter Sunday attacks happened. I know who planned it. All the terrorists who are being tried before the trial at Banau were apprehended during my tenure. However, the mastermind behind the attack has not been revealed yet. I know who executed the attacks. If the court orders to make a statement with this regard, I am ready to do so. However, the judges are responsible to maintain the confidentiality of my statement.
Former President Sirisena's statement sparked controversy, and on the following day, he explained that his statement was made based on information he received 3 weeks ago. He also stated that he is ready to make a confidential statement regarding the matter.
I made that statement yesterday based on information I received on the Easter Sunday attack about 3 weeks back. If I'm summoned to court, I'm willing to provide a confidential statement. I want to make a confidential statement since I'm concerned that my life and my family's life will be at risk if I make a statement in open court. The statement I am willing to make is devoid of politics. It will be an honest statement.
Several parties filed complaints against the former president of the CID following his controversial remarks. Consequently, the CID summoned Sirisena to record a statement regarding the matter after Minister of Public Security Derana English instructed the Inspector General of Police Deshabandha Tennakon to carry out an investigation into his remarks. Former President Maithripala Sirisena was summoned to the CID at 10:30 a.m. today. He arrived at the CID to provide his confidential statement regarding the mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attacks.
He was summoned to the CID to provide a statement which I think is happening as we speak right now. Onward legal action to be taken will be determined after this statement. I don't foresee any issue as he has no reason to withhold information. Hence, he is at the CID providing a statement. I think this is what the public expects as a country.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena, who arrived at the CID at 10:30 a.m., left the premises at around 3:40 p.m. after providing a statement for nearly 5 hours.
Now, following the statement made by former President Maithripala Sirisena regarding his knowledge of the Easter Sunday attacks perpetrators, political party representatives made statements and chaos erupted across the political arena. Various members of parliament and civil society leaders largely criticized the move.
There is a difference between heresy and one claiming that they know something. When he says it's heresy, it implies that he will take responsibility. If it is a heresy, I cannot confirm that I am aware of this particular piece of information. It is clear that his second statement was done purely with the intention of assigning blame to another entity.
The Act states that withholding any form of information pertaining to terrorism-related activities from the police is a crime that carries a 7-year sentence. There is a proverb that states that one must think before they speak. However, Sirisena has historically thought about what he says only after he says it. I am confident that Maithripala Sirisena will not disclose any evidence pertaining to names or viable information.
Why did he stay silent for 21 days after receiving this information 3 weeks ago? It is a serious crime to withhold important information pertaining to terrorism per Sri Lankan law.
I truly regret working so hard to bring such a person into power. We cannot let anyone play with the lives lost during that attack. This also raises suspicion as to whether it's a political conspiracy, what with elections close by.
It
is illegal to withhold information. He said that the statement was made on information he received recently. The only thing he can do in such an instance is to provide such information to the police or the CID.
Now, following the statement made by former President Maithripala Sirisena that he knows he now has knowledge of the mastermind behind the Easter Sunday attacks, chaos erupted across the political arena. I apologize, that was a story we brought to you a little while ago. Now, let's get to the other story we have for you tonight. Now, the Court of Appeals has issued an order quashing the recommendations and findings of the Commission of Inquiry to investigate allegations of political victimization. Now, the order has been specifically made against a group of individuals, including President Ranil Wickremesinghe and National People's Power leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake. Now, the order was issued by a 3-member panel led by the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Nisanka Bandula Karunaratne. The 3-member Presidential Commission of Inquiry was appointed by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa on the 20th of January 2020 to inquire into allegations of political victimization. Now, the victimization was by way of investigations conducted by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, the FCID, CID, and the Special Investigation Unit of Police from the 8th of January 2015 to the 16th of November 2019.
Also in local news, President Ranil Wickremesinghe reiterated that it is the government's aim to eradicate malnutrition in Sri Lanka through the 2024 school meals program. He went on to state that efforts to modernize the education system are underway, adding that the education system must be upgraded and updated according to requirements and standards of the present era.
The 2024 school meal program under the theme Healthy Active Generation was inaugurated at Sujata Balika Vidyalaya under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning. This year's school feeding program benefits 1.6 million students, encompassing primary grade pupils from 9,134 government schools as well as schools with fewer than 100 students. The government has earmarked a budget of 16.6 billion rupees allocated directly to the 9 provincial councils with additional sponsorship from organizations such as the World Food Programme and the United States Department of Agriculture.
According to my information, the daily cost of providing food for school children is 190 million rupees. We have forwarded the menu required by this program, which is prepared by the Ministry of Health, to all schools. We have also provided advice to ensure that children are nourished with required optimum nutrition through rice and relevant accompaniments. I also signed the cabinet paper this morning, which makes it compulsory for children to attend preschool once they reach 4 years of age. If we continue this initiative, school education, which normally lasts 13 years, will be expedited to be completed in 12 years.
Malnutrition is a major issue faced in Sri Lanka, which we aim to eradicate through this initiative. We have increased funding to low-income earners through the Aspasama program by as much as 3 times, and we have started providing meals. We are also making an effort to provide a modernized education system. The education system which is suitable for 2024 will not be suitable for 2030.
Our Sri Lankan Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena arrived in Beijing, China earlier this morning following an invitation extended by Chinese Premier Li Qiang.
During his state visit, Prime Minister Gunawardena is expected to hold bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Prime Minister Li Qiang, senior ministers and top office bearers of the Chinese Communist Party.
Now, the Sri Lankan Premier is also, meanwhile, scheduled to attend China's annual international conference as the chief guest of the event.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena reached China today on a 6-day official visit following an invitation extended by Chinese Prime Minister Li Qiang. The Sri Lankan Prime Minister was welcomed by Executive Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Sun Weidong and senior officials and Acting Ambassador KK Yogananthan at the airport. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena is scheduled to attend China's premier annual international conference, the Bao Conference, as the chief guest of the event. During his state visit, Prime Minister Gunawardena is also expected to call on Chinese President Xi Jinping, Prime Minister Li Qiang, senior ministers and top office bearers of China's Communist Party. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, the leaders will have in-depth conversations on continuing China-Sri Lanka traditional friendship as well as international regional issues of common interest. The Foreign Ministry further noted that China attaches great importance to the development of bilateral relations between the two nations with high-quality belt and road cooperation. In addition, the Chinese Foreign Ministry went on to highlight the progress made in developing the China-Sri Lanka Strategic Cooperative Partnership.
Well, a tense situation erupted in front of the University of Kelaniya this morning when students staged a protest after a fourth-year student had died after a sudden illness. Now, the students allege that the death could have been prevented if the university administration had been more prompt in procuring an ambulance to transport the student to a hospital. With that, here's a look at more local news in brief.
Students of the University of Kelaniya staged a protest in front of the university's administrative building over the sudden death of a student last night. The fourth-year student who was rushed to a hospital in a three-wheeler following a sudden illness was pronounced dead upon admission. The protesting students alleged that the hospitalization was delayed due to the absence of an ambulance in the university premises and demanded that necessary measures to be taken to prevent similar incidents in the future. Concurrently, the non-academic staff of the university have launched a strike in support of the students' protest. Meanwhile, a bus travelling on the Kandy Mahiyangana main road veered off the road and crashed, injuring the driver and two passengers. An ambulance has also been present on the road during the time of the crash, however it had managed to evade the accident. Subsequently, the wounded were taken to hospital in the same ambulance. The injured were admitted to the Theldaniya hospital, following which they had been transferred to the Peradeniya teaching hospital for further treatment. In other local news, the Beruwala police arrested 5 individuals, including 2 students of the Aryavansa Mahavidyalaya Beruwala, for stealing 12 laptops from the school's smart classroom. The suspect had broken into the smart classroom of the school on the 23rd of March and had stolen the computers. The arrest was carried out after police had received information that the 2 students were trying to sell several laptop computers in the Panadura and Paduka areas.
Welcome back to the news.
Now, as the country's tourism sector continues to positively progress, promising numbers saw a total of 589,654 tourists visit Sri Lanka so far this year, with 163,51 tourist arrivals recorded for this month alone.
Now, the numbers have seen a sharp increase this year compared to the previous year, depicting a growth of the country's tourism industry.
According to the latest data issued by the Tourism Development Authority, Sri Lanka welcomed a total of 163,051 tourists to date this month. With this increase, total tourist arrivals recorded so far this year reached a substantial 589,654. The total arrivals recorded this month show a massive increase compared to the 105,498 tourist arrivals recorded in the corresponding period last year. On a weekly basis, the third week of March noted the highest arrivals, amounting to a total of 47,972 arrivals. A total of 8,534 daily arrivals were reported. Tourist arrival numbers have seen a sharp increase this year compared to the previous years, depicting a growth in the country's tourism sector. The Tourism Development Authority revealed that the country welcomed 218,350 tourists in February this year, which marks the second consecutive month with over 200,000 arrivals, as well as the highest number per month since January of 2020. Indian tourists topped the list with the most arrivals in March so far, with 25,424 arrivals. The number represented 15% of the total arrivals in March of 2024. Coming in next was Russia, amounting to a total of 22,722 arrivals, contributing to 14% of the tourist arrivals. A significant number of tourist arrivals were also reported from Germany, the United Kingdom, China, France and Australia.
Now, revenue generated by the Department of Excise of Sri Lanka increased by 38.5% in February compared to the previous year. Commissioner General of Excise M.J. Gunasiri added that because of the price increase of alcohol production saw a decrease during the past recent. Most recently, there was a decrease of nearly 657,000 litres in January of this year compared to the corresponding period last year. In addition, the Commissioner further revealed that special teams have been deployed across the island to raid illicit liquor production facilities during the upcoming festive season.
The Colombo bourse commenced this week today in negative territory, weighed down by losses in financial and consumer staple stocks. Now, the benchmark all-share index closed at 11,234.8 points, recording a 26.62 points drop. Now, trading volume on the index rose to 54.3 million shares, with Nations Trust Bank PLC witnessing the day's highest trade volume of 101 trades, amounting to a total of 1.3 million shares. Now, meanwhile, the S&P SL20 closed 6.09 points lower to end at 3,220.19. Now, market turnover for the day was recorded at 1.29 billion rupees, falling from 1.51 billion rupees in the previous session. Now, the banking sector was the top contributor to the turnover, chiefly due to the Sanasa Development Bank PLC witnessing a 177 million rupees stake change. Foreigners continue to be new net buyers, purchasing shares worth of 243.3 million rupees, while domestic investors were net sellers, offloading shares worth of 1.18 billion rupees.
Well, the Sri Lankan rupee opened stronger today and closed at 302.6 to 302.70. Let's take a look at how the rupee exchanged across other major currencies during the day.
Well, here's Sajini Devapura from Capital Alliance with a few thoughts with regard to the market.
In terms of the domestic equity market, last week the ASPI decreased around 75 points to 11,261.4, while the S&P SL20 showed a decrease from 3,245.2 to 3,226.3. Last week's total market turnover decreased to 8.4 billion rupees, declining by 5% compared to the previous week, owing to a decrease in both local and foreign participation. Moving on to the Treasury bill and bond auctions, the weighted average yields for the 3-month increased by 13 basis points to 10.03%, the 6-month increased by 14 basis points to 10.08%, and the 12-month increased by 14 basis points to 10.15% respectively. In the US markets, Nasdaq saw an increase by 2.9% due to an optimistic economic forecast by the Federal Reserve. In commodities, the oil prices climbed 0.2% to close at $85.6 and gold prices increased by 0.3%, closing at $2,166.5.
Welcome back. We take you to corporate news. Citrus Leisure PLC announced that during the company's extraordinary general meeting held today, all resolutions indicated on the 7th of March were approved, and that 378,354, or rather 3,354,954 ordinary voting shares were issued at an issue price of ₹4.20 per ordinary voting share.
Meanwhile, Renewagen Private Limited, a subsidiary of Windforce PLC, announced that the company will assume management control of Mahoma Uganda Limited as well. With that, here's a look at more corporate news in brief.
Citrus Leisure PLC announced that the company's extraordinary general meeting was held today as scheduled previously. In its corporate disclosure, the company disclosed that all resolutions indicated in the notice issued previously on the 7th of March this year was approved and passed by the shareholders of the company. During the meeting, 378,354,954 ordinary voting shares were issued at an issue price of ₹4.20 per ordinary voting share by way of a rights issue. In the meantime, Renewagen Private Limited, a subsidiary of Windforce plc, announced that the company will assume management control of Mahoma Uganda Limited. Accordingly, Windforce plc will recognise Mahoma Uganda Limited as its subsidiary company with retrospective effect from the 1st of January 2024. Renewable energy from Windforce, which commenced operations in 2020, meanwhile, has diversified into large-scale ground and rooftop solar power generation systems and mini hydro plants both locally and overseas. In other corporate news, the Sri Lanka Korea Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recently hosted a networking evening for members of the council, diplomats, government officials and industry representatives to foster collaboration and bilateral cooperation. Addressing the event, Chief Guest Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to Sri Lanka, Her Excellency Myeon Lee, highlighted that bolstering diplomatic, economic and cultural ties between the two nations are vital to facilitate collaboration across various sectors.
Welcome back, everyone. There's breaking news coming from New York itself with regard to that Trump case, which we earlier spoke about. Now, an appeals court has slashed former President Trump's appeal with regard to the hush money case, where he now has to only make $175 million off from that $453 million which he initially had to pay. Now, the appeals court has slashed that initial verdict from the New York court, and apparently it has been reduced to $175 million, and that also has to be paid within 10 days.
Well, yes, the Monday deadline to pay $464 million bond payment that came as a result of civil fraud allegations from New York Attorney General Letitia James. New York Appeals Court hours before the deadline to post this $464 million lowered that bond considerably.
Now, the court ordered that Trump post $175 million within 10 days.
Well, that wraps up tonight's edition of First at 9. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time. I'm Indiveri Amwatha.
Mahesh Johnny, thank you for watching. Have a good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.